Alan Arnott Mcleod, a real superhero. Born in 1899, died in 1918. Alan Mcleod is my hero because he was very courageous, daring, and he's called foolhardy by some, but I call him a great adventurer. Even though his war adventures were cut short by the deadly killer known as influenza, his story is one worth telling, and he should not be remembered as a fool, but as a great young man. Alan had much to prove, and did. He's one of the greatest Canadians in history, and is truly a real superhero. This is his story of sadness, pain, struggling, and bravery, and I'm glad to tell it. Alan Arnott Mcleod was born on April 20th, 1899 in a small hospital in Stonewall, Manitoba. He had a very simple life, living on a farm. His father was the doctor of the town of Stonewall and was often very busy, but when he could spend time with his son, he made the most of it. His mother stayed home with Alan, teaching him how to do different things on the farm. He lived the first 13 years of his life on the farm and going to school. But when he turned 14, he wanted to join the military. Though he was below the age limit of 18, the officers let him join. There was not much to do. He mainly groomed horses and fixed guns because the world was at peace. When he turned 15, they sent him home with a uniform and a riding crop as a souvenir. He was sent home because the great adventure had begun. They would not take a 14-year-old boy to France. After that, he tried to join 7 times, but he was sent back every time to home and school. He tried again when he was 17, and when they asked for a birth certificate, they sent him back, but said they would keep him on record for when he turned 18. When he turned 18, he enlisted in the military. He was sent to Long Branch for pilot training. He was indeed very skilled at flying his Avro 504 in the sky with great maneuvers. He flied solo on his 5th day of training with only 3 hours of flight experience. He was then sent to Camp Borden for intermediate training and quickly graduated. He was shipped out to France on the Matagama as the new 2nd lieutenant of the RFC. He was sent to England to the 82nd Squadron Flying Scouts, but when his CO found out he was only 18, he believed that aerial combat was too dangerous for Alan, so he was sent to the 51 Squadron Home Defense Forces, which pained Mcleod not to be with his schoolmates Don McLaren and Bill Claxton. He flied an RAF BE-12 fighter plane against observation Zeppelins at night. Flying at night was very dangerous, as there were many hidden dangers in the sky at night other than Zeppelins. The cables of the massive balloons hanging over London could easily tear the wing off of a BE-12 fighter. He spent many nights flying from an abandoned field in London, and one time, attempting to destroy a Zeppelin, he got shot down. He did, however, make a good landing and survive. He dismissed it as part of the adventures of war. He managed to improve his flying skills and, although not racking up a massive amount of kills, was very good at maneuvering his BE-12. Many skilled pilots had been killed at Vimy Ridge and Passchendaele, and Mcleod managed to convince his general that since he was 19 and well-trained, that he could become a pilot for Squadron 2, which was working for HQ. so he was shipped out to St. Omer, France. He flew an Armstrong Whitworth FK-8, a huge, sturdy bomber. His first firefight was terrible. He completely ruined the landing gear and was grounded from flying for a week. The general gave Allen the most experienced gun observer he had, Lieutenant Fred Higgins. Many times Higgins saved Mcleod's life, and he wouldn't have lived to save A.W. Hammond in his greatest recorded feat of all time. On a very bad day, weather-wise, and flying with his new observer A.W. Hammond, Allen was to test the airframe fires of the JG-1 squadron. Just as they were flying, a German plane came out of a cloud 200 meters away from them, and then another came out of a cloud, and another, and they were surrounded by German planes. Allen and Hammond managed to gun down many German planes, but Lieutenant Hans Christensen, soon to be top-scoring ace of his squadron, came from underneath Mcleod and gunned out the belly of his plane, wounding him and Hammond. Hammond took the brunt of the attack and was wounded 6 times, bleeding all over his seat. Unfortunately, the fire punctured the fuel tank and made a spark, causing the aircraft to catch fire. Another German plane swooped in for the kill, but Hammond, using one arm, fired at the plane and caused it to move away from the fight. Allen then grabbed Hammond and climbed out onto the right lower wing away from the flames. Hans came in again for the kill and once again put Hammond's gun out of commission. Mcleod and Hammond crashed to the ground in an explosion. Hammond was unconscious, but Mcleod was wide awake. With fuel leaking to a pile of bombs and sparks flying, Mcleod picked up Hammond and ran to a bomb hole, just in the nick of time. As soon as he climbed out, heavy machine guns started firing at them. Mcleod ran, even though a grenade exploded right beside him. He got to cover in an abandoned foxhole. He radioed for help and by morning was picked up by 2 soldiers. He did this all with 7 wounds in the end and with barely any thinking at all. He also had 3rd-degree burns on his arms and legs. For this, he was awarded the Victoria Cross. And Hammond had a bar added to his military cross. Allen Mcleod died from the Spanish influenza shortly after he was shipped back home. He died on June 11, 1918, at age 19. This is his story, and I am proud to write about it. For he is a great man, and shall always be a great Canadian of history. He went through much pain, but for the good of our nation. He was an inspirational teenager, and he was brave. He died young, but he, however, had something no one saw. Can you guess? Luck.